Okay, this is not a ride sharing video, just doing a commentary. I guess this was going to be, but nevertheless, here goes. Apparently, I was just on the backup profile, and for no clue of my own, no by no fault of my own, the app decided to suspend or block the program. I don't have a lot of say so or a lot of, I can't even really come to words on why the app often blocks or bans programs. We were just involved in a decent live stream. The commentary was coming in, and for some reason, TikTok decided to take it down. Now, I did file an appeal. Generally, I win probably 95% of appeals that I file, oftentimes within an hour. The last live we were just involved in on my backup profile, I won the appeal rather quickly. However, my appeal on this particular platform here, I did not win. So I can't take anyone in the box for another 5 days or something like that. There's no shortage of trolls on TikTok. So even though my goal is to prevent anyone on my platform from being banned, blocked, or censored, unfortunately, I do not have access to the TikTok gods that often make these hellified decisions based on nothing other than some troll filing a report. So today's show is going to be, for the most part, straight from the comments. I've done this once before. The question we were asking is, should Biden reconsider a run in 2024, considering that the first 13 days of 2023 has sucked? There's a lot of bad information coming out against the Biden campaign. And if you are my beloved MAGA, folks who support Trump, Republicans, and those on the right, this has been very helpful to Trump. This will be very instrumental in his defense in regards to his document issue. By the way, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 5,000 likes. This is a MAGA-friendly program. Unfortunately, because of what TikTok is doing, I cannot take folks in the box. By no fault of my own, they turned the shit off for 5 days. But we can entertain the comments. All 3 lives I've been in were taken down. MAGA trolls working overtime. Jen, I don't think it's a MAGA troll issue here because we are friends of MAGA. A lot of my guests are MAGA. I do not block, ban, or censor MAGA. I make it clear they are my preferred guests. In my opinion, some of my greatest enemies, my greatest trolls are probably liberal. I get called an Uncle Tom, a sellout, Uncle Ruckus on every single program. And those are generally folks that look like me that are saying that. So I won't go so far as to say it's a MAGA troll. It could be someone on the left. Could just be someone who is jealous of an audience this size. Or the fact that we can maintain an audience at all. You can't control what's on the mindset of people. But it is what it is. All right, looking on the comments. You can do YouTube. Yes, I can, a seesaw. I got to start doing it because I have ran live programs on YouTube. However, I don't know how to have live guests on YouTube in the same manner we do here on TikTok. I don't know if YouTube is set up for that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you folks in the audience can tell me. I'm somewhat new to social media from the more, advanced aspects of it, but I would love to do that. I absolutely love how objective you are. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. I try to keep it objective. I try to keep it fair. Listen, I lean left, so there's going to be some bias there. But at the same time, I'm not here to champion the left as the know-it-all, best-all. So in the comments, if you guys post statements and questions, we're going to tackle them from there. Nothing I can do about the box today. Hopefully the appeal I filed will be rectified in my favor, but we'll see what happens. Looking in the comments, cracks me up how libs wanted to hang Trump and think this is no big deal. Bionic Man Keith, that is a true statement. The liberals were salivating when this was happening to Trump. Now that it's happening to Biden, well, it wasn't as many documents. He cooperated. Yeah, they are making up excuses. However, this does work in reverse. It does work in reverse. When Hillary Clinton was pleading the fifth constantly, or not Hillary Clinton, but other liberals going to court pleading the fifth, as Trump stated, if you plead the fifth, that means you work for the mafia. That means you're guilty. Same spiel that you stated. When it was other folks on the right were accusing them of committing all sorts of crimes and being guilty. All of a sudden, Trump gets up there and pleads the fifth, or Steve Bannon and all of these folks, and just like with the Biden case, well, they are entitled to their Fifth Amendment rights. They don't have to say anything that's going to, convict themselves. That didn't apply to the liberals, but I do agree with you. Bionic Man is a friend of the program. I'm conservative, but love your work and listen daily. Ransom, that is a hell of a name. Appreciate you tuning in. Always good to have you here. Now, if Biden did something, charge him, says One Little Mama. I do not believe under any circumstance that President Biden has anywhere near the love and support that President Trump has. The liberals, even right now, there's no shortage of folks that come on my broadcast and suggest that President Biden is a good, effective president. But when you ask him, should he run again? No. He's too old, or he's this, or he's that. On the right, the folks who love Trump probably wouldn't care if he was 90. So I do believe the support for Trump from his constituents is far stronger than the support for Biden from his constituents. Most liberals are saying exactly what you're saying, One Little Mama. If Biden is guilty, lock his ass up. I have not heard many MAGA ever suggest that if Trump is guilty to lock him up. All of that shit's a joke, locker room talk, or it's a liberal witch hunt. I've never heard of anybody that identifies as a Trump supporter suggest that if Trump actually did something wrong, he should be locked up. They're pretty defensive of him. Thank you, host, says Original Grape. Appreciate it. Not a problem. Trump is the worst of them all. Don't get it twisted. All politicians are corrupt. One is not better. Aries, while I agree that there is a certain level of corruption in all politicians, even Obama, who had very little scandals, talking about the presidents in our lifetime, he weaponized the IRS. So, yeah, they all have some level of corruption in them if you dig deep enough. But listen, Biden has been in politics since the late 70s, maybe early 70s. He knows how to play the game. For you folks on the right, my beloved MAGA folks who do not want to deal with typical politicians, Biden is the definition of a typical politician. He's been hovering around Washington since I've been born. That's a long damn time. I'm old as hell. All right, looking in the comments. Fast and Furious. Yeah, Fast and Furious, I guess you could throw Benghazi out there. But in the grand scheme of things, the weapon selling between Fast and Furious and things like that, I have a hard time believing that doesn't happen quite often. Iran-Contra scandal, funding, what do they call it, the folks down in Panama and things like that. I don't know if I would put Fast and Furious as a major scandal. Same thing with Solyndra and some of these other things that came out. Some of that stuff is a makeshift scandal. You talk about witch hunts on Trump. How about saying that President Obama wears the wrong color suit, or he doesn't have a flag lapel, or he had a debate without the flag on stage? Some of that shit is a witch hunt. Some of that stuff, in retrospect, looking back, some of the things that folks on the right went after Obama for is exceptionally petty. If you want to talk about going after Trump, has been witch hunts. The stuff I'm talking about, he wore a brown suit. Or he had his shirt open without a tie on TV. Fox News was doing segments on that. Really? You want to talk about a witch hunt? How much more petty can you get than that? To devote a 15, 20-minute segment to the guy not wearing a black or a brown suit. Or black or a blue suit, rather. So, there are witch hunts everywhere. Obama's worst two policies. Obamacare and cash for clunkers. Well, the Wraith Man, I can tell you for a fact that most of America does not see Obamacare as a bad policy. There is a reason why President Trump could not deliver on his promise to repeal and replace Obamacare. There's a hell of a lot of Republicans that use portions of that. Keeping your child on your insurance until you're 26 in this environment where employers are steadily but surely making it so that you either are not insured or you have insurance costs that you cannot afford, a 26-year-old or somebody younger, they need that. There's a lot of Republican parents that would never want to give that back. How about no pre-existing conditions? You're going to tell me that's a bad policy? That if you got diabetes or high blood pressure and you lose your job, your next employer does not have to pay for anything related to diabetes or high blood pressure because it's a pre-existing condition? You're going to tell me that's a bad policy? You want to go back to that shit? So I cannot disagree with you any stronger in regards to your statement that Obamacare was a bad policy. I think the vast majority of this country would never vote to go back to the way healthcare was in the Bush years or in the Clinton years or in the whatever the case may be going backwards. Even now, with Obamacare, people still think that healthcare in this country is bullshit. How would you want to go back to that? Looking in the comments. What's the Republicans' population with diabetes and high blood pressure too? Fair enough. We must not deprive Joe Biden of a good raid to his homes. You know, CMB, after what happened in regards to Trump in pursuit of the documents, it's understandable that folks on the right would say, well, why aren't they raiding Joe Biden's home? There's one obvious reason. He's complying. It's no different than you guys say, you know, if you wouldn't get shot by police if you just comply. Well, shit, if my hands are up and I'm getting out the car and he shoots me in the face, it looks worse than if I'm struggling and fighting back. Biden is complying. It is my strong belief that if they came to Biden and told him, look, we found shit in your office, we found stuff in your damn garage. Do you mind if we search your home over here or your condo over there? I don't believe Biden would say no. So why would you perform a raid when the person is opening up the door? I get the sensationalism of it. It embarrassed the hell out of Trump, but you can't perform a raid on somebody who's giving you access. So that's not going to happen. Trump had no business denying them access to documents that they knew he had. He set himself open for embarrassment. They know you got the shit. You're refusing to give it to them, and then they eventually get a subpoena and go in there and take the stuff. Why didn't you just hand it over? What did you think he was going to accomplish? I heard National Archives knew Trump had documents and were working with him on how to keep them. I have not heard that even from the Trump campaign. They're in the House, I think it says. I have not heard that. But I get your point is that they were working with Trump for him to give the documents back, and, you know, somebody politicized it and decided, well, no, let's just do a raid for sensationalism. I have not heard that, not even from the Trump campaign. If that's the case, obviously it would be wrong. It would be being very political, but I have not heard that. And Trump has access to social media in Truth Social. I believe Elon Musk still gives him access to Twitter. And he can throw a rally anytime, and he's not saying that. Trump had a year to give it back, says Army Vet. When we talked yesterday, welcome back, Army Vet, a friend of the program. Yeah, there's no denying that Trump was resistant to working with the FBI or working with the government, the Department of Justice, to return the documents. I don't get why he was doing that. And even after the raid, he suggested that they should give him the shit back. It's mine. You should give it back. So you're not going to get all of that out of Biden. You're not going to get that much resistance out of Biden. So there goes any hope of a raid, CMB. Want to fix the border? Dump alligators and piranhas in the Rio Grande. Pete, you know, in regards to dumping dangerous wildlife so that immigrants entering the country illegally will be eaten, listening to Bill O'Reilly, I'm a huge O'Reilly fan. He didn't talk about eating immigrants. Obviously, that just sounds horrible. To quote Hillary Clinton, that sounds deplorable. But he did suggest that this is what he suggested. If you're caught entering the first time illegally, they send you back. If you're caught entering the second time, you are banned from coming to America for life, legally or otherwise. And if you're caught entering the third time, you get a minimum of 3 to 5 years in prison. Anybody agree with that? You think that's too harsh, spot on, or overkill? I'd love to see that in the comments. But 3 to 5 years on your third illegal entry into America. Not a fan because it would promote, if I'm trying to run for my life, from the cartel. I believe they're trying to kill me. Stevie D, shout out for that, for those gifts there. I do appreciate the barbell. If someone's trying to take my life, and I know that I got a choice of being in an American penal system around other immigrants that speak my language, it's not the same as going to Sing Sing or somewhere like that. So it's going to be a different environment as opposed to being killed by the cartel. I probably would take it. That's 3 to 5 years that I'm going to be closed, housed, and fed. And there's always a chance a different president may come along, change the law, and allow me to stay. Which is exactly why when Trump was in office and he made it clear on the world stage that he was separating families. Remember, Obama was doing this, but the difference was bragging about it. When Trump started bragging about that, the amount of migrants increased. And it increased because you're essentially telling folks that if you come here, you're going to be able to stay for a while, even if it's separating families at the border. If you're a single guy or a single woman and you come to America, because they got this policy now under the Trump administration of punishing you by holding you, you don't have to worry about going back and getting unalived for a while. So even under President Trump, the build a wall guy, the guy who was supposedly protecting the border, the amount of migrants coming illegally actually increased. There were, what do they call those, caravans or whatever the hell they were. So it wasn't necessarily a deterrent. I'm a Trump fan, says Jane. Jane's my name, and you are a welcome viewer. This is a MAGA-friendly program. Generally, my statement is, I'll give you plenty of time in the box without any fear of censorship, but they've turned the box off today. Hopefully tomorrow we're back, and that is no longer a problem. We can't afford them, period, says Redinate. You know, here's something I just found out not long ago. In terms of countries on earth that takes in the most amount of immigrants, we are number 2. We accept more legal immigrants than any other country in the world except for one country. You know who that country is? Germany. Germany takes in 1.2 million on average of immigrants per year. America takes in about 1 million. Now, what's significant about that is Germany is a much smaller country geographically than America. And the citizens of Germany are not anywhere near as wealthy as America is. Germany does not have anywhere near as much open land as America does. Yet they take in more immigrants than we do. That was a shock. Looking in the comments, we should. The land doesn't belong to us. It's God's land. Hammer. I don't know. You know, I get it if you're religious. This whole planet is God's planet, but you gotta have secure borders. You just can't. I mean, basically, what you're saying is people should just be free to go wherever they want. Well, unfortunately, there are people who not only do not believe in God, but they mean harm to the lands that they inhabit. So you just can't let anybody in your country without vetting them and things like that. People mean us harm. I mean, that's just no denying that. I'm not here to pretend like all immigrants are going to be terrorists, but there are people that do mean us harm. You sound white, says yes 208. What the hell? I sound white. Wow. You know, I don't know what a white person sounds like compared to a black. Would it be better if I filmed alive, maybe, you know, eating now and laters and chicken? I don't get that. I sound white. Okay, fair enough. What the hell? You know, somebody told me I sound like Bill Cosby before. Now, he clearly isn't white. You sound like a human. Thank you, Coco Moco. I like that. Sounds American. Appreciate that. Migrants are illegals. Skulls. That's not true. Not all migrants. I mean, there is a way to migrate legally in regards to entering the land that you want to reside on. Then there's a way of breaking the law. I personally was an expatriate or migrant, whatever the hell you want to call it. I've done it all. I've went through Australia. I've went through Australia's customs and immigration from point A all the way to the end. Everything from sticking probes up your ass to asking you a million questions. Interpol, FBI, City of Chicago, County of Cook, all of them had to run background checks, blood tests. I think they certainly did with the x-rays. I think they may have even done a CAT scan on my ass. But they check everything. Check you for diseases, check you for crimes, run you by Interpol. I know what it's like, and I will tell you, I know exactly what it feels like to be in a line, in an immigration line, and have residents of that country say, go home, you're here to steal our jobs. Now, they thought I was an African, because if I don't speak, most of their migrants come from the continent of Africa. But I was told to go back. I was in line with people holding signs up and all that, so I know exactly how that feels. It sucks. It really does suck. Because you want to yell out at some of these folks, I'm over here to open up a business. I got more money than your ass. Get the fuck out. But you can't do that. You don't want to risk getting deported before you even got permission to stay. All right, look it in the comments. That's called racism. But why though, guys? Yeah, I definitely saw some of that. In fact, up till I believe it was 1977, Australia had what they refer to as a Keep Australia White policy, where they were not taking immigrants from shithole countries. Might sound familiar if you really think about it. All right, look it in the comments. Get some hair. Where am I going to get it from? There's not a weave shop within 10 miles. You're lagging just a little, says A-Rod. Unfortunately, I have no control over that. I do have the 5G emblem in the screen here, so I don't know, but I do apologize for that if that's happening. Let them all in, all the poor. What kind of country will you have? What about your own people? Barbie, ex-Barbie, that's the point, is that we have allowed a large amount of migrants, immigrants, refugees to come into America. And at this time, there are places you can go to in America that do not feel like you are located in America. The language is not spoken. You go to different buildings. The signs are in a foreign language and things like that. And that does turn off some true blue Americans. They're not coming in assimilating is the argument they often make. They're coming and changing the country to theirs. There are people who do not like it for that reason in itself. How many of times have you called a customer service line and it was told to push 2 for English? I'm in America. Why the hell do I got to choose my own language? The person that's on the phone should know I speak English. So I get the argument. Amen. This is good conversation. The Hammer. Appreciate that, because I am in the trenches rolling this shit solely based on the comments. I would love to have some of you folks in here, but because of TikTok and its bullshit censor rules, which I do not do here, for free speech is paramount. I'm actually here to entertain you guys on a solo tip. 500 plus in here. You could be anywhere you want to be on social media. The fact you're rolling with me like that, I find that very honorable. Tap the screen. Show your boy some love. Give me up to 10,000 likes. I would appreciate that. Thank you. That is something I like about you. Is free speech is paramount. Summers 164. Sitting here in the middle of winter. Love the name. Wish it was that time of year. I appreciate the compliment. There's nothing in the Constitution about English being the default language of America. Obata, that is true. Something in regards to the Constitution, what was it? Joe Rogan that made a joke that if Thomas Jefferson could come to the future in 2022, 2023, the first thing he would say is, you guys ain't changed shit? You're still using that document? I wrote that with a pen and a feather, or a feather and ink, and which is true. I mean, at this point, you're talking about whether it's the Second Amendment, whether you're talking about English, Christianity, and things like that. We are an evolving people, trying to follow the rules of a document written in the late 1700s. Yeah, some would say that we need to evolve from that, but you're correct. There is no provision that states English is the nation's language in the Constitution, because they probably didn't expect what we're dealing with now to happen. So they didn't think they didn't think they had to do it. But my guess is, if they knew ahead of time what was going to happen, They would have done that. I do believe they would have done, because they were obviously very much pro-America. Please put me up. Unfortunately, Yvette, the box is turned off because of the censorship rules of TikTok. So I absolutely would put you up. Everybody knows this is a MAGA-friendly program. I do not ban, block, or censor anyone for their commentary, but unfortunately today I cannot take guests on here because of them, not I. They make amendments, says Seesaw. Yeah, but in this environment, do you think you'll see an amendment anytime soon at all, as tribal as we've become? You're going to have to damn near take down another high-rise to get America to unite. And you know what I mean when I say that. It was established as English in the 1860s, but is it documented? Is it documented, Paul? You're saying that it was established as an English-speaking country, but has that been actually officially documented? You made the CCP mad. I didn't try. Even as much as I attempt to tailor myself as a middle of the road host, commentator, I lean left. I don't hide that. You see the name of the damn program, but I try to keep it unbiased. I'm willing to entertain the concerns, the passion of folks on the right, oftentimes conceding points. Yet somehow I occasionally get banned as well. So there are some folks out there, unfortunately, that are so tribalistic, they don't entertain any damn thing that's coming from the other side. So, and then of course we have a complement of trolls on any social media platform. I believe you have to know English to get a green card. Trumper for life. I don't think so. Or the amount of English you have to know is probably so low that you could qualify and not be able to communicate with many citizens. Reason I say that, I mean, I've had 3 years of Spanish in high school. I don't remember a lot of it, but I remember enough to probably tell you I'm hungry, you look really attractive, or I need to go to sleep. That might be all you need to know. It depends. It might be all you need to know. America is great now. It certainly is getting better, which is oftentimes why you hear folks on the left, particularly minorities, question, what the hell does make America great again mean? When you say again, you're obviously referencing something that we've already been through. And many minorities will suggest that there is no period in history that is so great that we'd rather return to. That's why you hear that question all the time. You think Melania's dad speaks English? It's Melania's dad. Doesn't have to. But, you know, my guess is probably broken English. Most folks from Europe, I think Melania Trump is from Eastern Europe. There's a lot of folks that speak English over there. I mean, English is spoken throughout Europe. But I don't know. I'd have to hear. I've never even seen the guy. I know that under the Trump's presidency, a lot of Melania's family suddenly was granted citizenship. Supposedly she's not from a shithole country, so it worked out pretty well. But I don't know if he speaks English or not. He needs to censor that shit. We should rather be a creditor nation instead of a debtor nation. How? Everybody, in regards to being a creditor versus a debtor, we talk about the national deficit often. Right now, they're suggesting that Biden's running the country into bankruptcy. They said the same thing about Obama. At the end of the day, neither Republicans nor Democrats give a shit about the national debt. They just care about what is being spent on. The folks on the right refuse to spend money in regards to entitlements. Pay your own damn tuition. You don't need food stamps. You know, things like that. But if the military decides there's this tight-ass jet that I think could allow us to kill a whole nation with one missile, might cost $2 trillion, but damn, we could kill a whole nation with this shit. The folks on the right would come up with the money in a heartbeat. So everybody spends money. It just depends on what it is on. The right is not saving your money at all. It's just they spend it on something different. They believe what they're spending money on is better for the nation. Biden is compromised. Biden is compromised is the comment. Biden is corrupt is his actual name. So in regards to your statement that Biden is compromised, considering your name is Biden is corrupt, wouldn't that mean that you're your opinions are also compromised? I mean, your name is Biden is corrupt. Is Biden compromised by who? Who is he working for? I mean, if you're suggesting he's compromised, or are you saying he has dementia, he's mentally ill? Let me know. I'd love to see what your follow-up is. Plutocracy is our government. That statement is above my mentality. I don't know what is a plutocracy. I'm willing to admit ignorance. A lot of times I like talking to the folks because I'm often educated in ways, learn a lot of things, whether it's on the right or the left. You guys have led me to watch 2000 Mules a half dozen times. I watched Mike Lindell's Cyber Symposium. Hell, even Sheriff Joe Arpaio made an effort to prove Obama was born in Kenya. I watch all that shit. I don't have to believe it, but I like to hear you folks speak, and I like to watch some of your stuff, and we can talk about it. Trump was the worst president in the history of America, says G-Father of G or something like. Worst in the history. Come on now. Listen, I'm not here as a liberal to pretend like Trump did things that I favored off. Worst in the history of America. 3.5% job, 3.5% unemployment rate. The economy was decent. You could say he inherited a good economy from President Obama, but the economy under Trump was good as well. Worst in the history of America? Not even remotely close. But also, I get a lot of MAGA that state that Trump was the GOAT, greatest of all time. Once again, not even remotely close. In terms of best and worst presidents, he'd be in the middle somewhere. Now, I will tell you this. January 6th did not help that man out at all, because 100 years from now, that's probably the only thing about President Trump that will still be discussed. In terms of legacy, a lot of presidents come and go. There's not a lot to be memorized, though. You take someone like Jimmy Carter. 100 years from now, nobody will be talking about him at all. There's just nothing there. With President Trump, nobody's going to be talking about $2 gas or a great unemployment rate or even giving money to HBCUs. They're going to be talking about January 6th. That's the primary issue of Trump that's going to always be remembered. Every president has some form of a legacy if they are instrumental or significant enough. Obviously, with Obama, it's probably going to be he was the first black guy, maybe Obamacare. Outside of that, not much at all, with the exception of legalizing same-sex marriage. Right now, under the Biden administration, I can't think of much of anything. But he still has 2 more years. But January 6th is going to be the biggest item in Trump's 4 years in office. Unless he gets reelected and does something else, that's going to be his legacy, and that's not good. Trump quadrupled the national debt. I don't know if that's the case. I'd have to look that. I haven't heard that. Sheriff Joe Arpaio for head of Border Patrol. Sheriff Joe Arpaio, I get folks who often suggest that liberals throw around the racism word and things like that. What Sheriff Joe Arpaio was doing was racist. Up to and including he was about to be sentenced to jail. He was, in defense of protecting the border, ordering his deputies to stop folks that were brown and demand they had paperwork to prove they were in America. Obviously, in Sheriff Joe Arpaio's neck of the woods, meaning Arizona, there's a hell of a lot of naturally born Americans that are brown. 3rd, 4th generation Mexicans that are born in America. So when you go around stopping folks and demanding they prove that they belong here, when they were actually born here, that's a clear-cut violation of their constitutional rights. And if you do it based on how they look, you're also violating their civil rights, which is why they were about to throw Sheriff Joe Arpaio in jail. Who stopped it? Trump pardoned him, which does not help the argument against Trump not being racist, because he pardoned a guy who was acting upon racism. That's not the way to protect the border. That's just, you can't do it that way. I get that if you do that shit, it probably would reduce the amount of illegals in the country, no doubt. Just like stop and frisk would significantly reduce, guns and drugs being carried on people's person. But there is a such thing as constitutional rights. You can't just go grab people based on how they look and start going through their shit. There's a lot of white guys walking around in business suits. Give me your laptop. Let me audit that shit. Make sure you're not stealing 401ks. You think they'd be okay with that? That could save a lot of folks' 401ks from corporate crimes. But you can't just start yanking people based on how they look. You can't do that. And anybody who is for that, yeah, don't tell me you're for the Constitution if you're for that. Everybody is for violating rights when they're not the one being violated. Appreciate the comment of you're very bright. Can I ask what you do for work? I move medical equipment around. And then sometimes I do other shit like ride sharing and things like that. But that is what I do. And I enjoy talking to the folks. Nothing would stop us, only dead. I don't get that comment. Third batch of classified documents by a vice president missing for 6+ years. There's no defense of what President Biden has done. Even for folks who want to defend him on the grounds that, well, he didn't know, he didn't pack the boxes. A lot of that is neutralized by the fact that they knew the documents were in his possession and covered it up until after the midterms. So any excuse of ignorance, any excuse that it was a mistake, the cover-up removes all of that. Biden looks bad. There's no denying Biden looks bad in this. Even as a liberal, someone who supported Biden, I'm not here to pretend like that shit is cool. I'm not here to pretend like if Trump did the same thing, we wouldn't be all over him. It looks wrong. There's no denying that. So Biden did not get out in front of that. It looks like he tried to cover it up. This stuff came out. One of those sections of documents or groups of classified documents, they discovered in early November. And it just came to the country's attention in January. Because the media knew about it and was about to break the story. That's a cover-up, folks. Doesn't matter if you made a mistake or not. It's like accidentally, while listening to music, going over the speed limit, and when the police put the blue lights on you, you take off and run. The fact that you was making an accident at that point means nothing, because now you're doing some more shit. Biden doesn't look good. All right, looking in the comments. Is it Biden or his staff to blame? Remember when Trump said he was going to surround himself with the best and brightest? If the people you hire are effing up, as far as the folks watching are concerned, you're effing up. So you don't get to hire incompetent staff and then when a problem happens, blame it on the staff. We didn't allow that during the Trump administration because Trump was doing exactly that. It's not my fault. It was this person or that person. These people would not have a job if you didn't appoint them. So if they screw up, you get the blame because you were the one that hired them under the assumption they could do the job. I've asked that several times to MAGA in regards to President Trump. At what point does your subordinates, at what point do we start looking at the amount of your subordinates screwing up before we say maybe the person hiring them is the wrong guy for the job? So I'm not going to give Biden a pass on that either. If you are a manager of any company and you keep hiring people that you got to fire that are turning into rhinos or doing things that are going against your company, and you keep hiring more people like that, before you know it, they're going to be talking about firing your ass. You don't know how to hire people. That's what Trump kept trying to do, is blame all the people he was bringing on and say, I'm innocent. I don't want to throw Biden into that pile. If Biden has staff working for him that are screwing up, he gets the blame. Like I said, try to call a spade, no matter who's dealing the cards. I always try to call a strike, no matter who's up to bat. Trump did that monthly. Yeah, exactly. Every time he fired someone, it was that person's fault. You're the one that's hiring these people. I appreciate the hat and mustache there. Whoever this sent me that. I see the Niner man with that rose. I don't know who sent me that. I do appreciate that. I wanted to give you accolades for that, but I can't see that. He actually instructed his people to look for more and turn them in. R. Barron, if that's the case, that is good that he did that. But at the end of the day, if it is wrong to have your hands on classified documents that you no longer have authorization to have in your possession, it's wrong. Doesn't matter if you became nice once you found out or you're instructing them to go look for more and things like that. You're not supposed to have this. People can hold you accountable for that. He has stuff on him that he's not supposed to have. I hate that I can't take you guys in the box. I really hate that. Trump just brought a bunch of liars around him. Josh Stew, there is some validity to that, but I would not refer to the people Trump brought around him as liars. I would call them yes men. They were willing to be directed in any way Trump needed to direct them in. Herschel Walker would have been another example of that. I don't know if Dr. Oz would have been so much so, but Herschel Walker would have just been a puppet. Whatever policies we need you to do, he gets a phone call in the middle of the night, and the next day he's doing exactly that. So Trump was known for, for the most part, surrounding himself with yes men. You think Joe Manchin, Christian Sinema would have survived as a Republican under the Trump administration? Their lives would have been in danger. The fact is, you got Democrats that are voting against Biden. I think Joe Manchin has only voted with Biden like 70% of the time. That means you're talking 30%. He's the one against the Biden agenda. Liz Cheney voted with Trump like 95% of the time, and they're still calling her a rhino. Mitt Romney, not Mitt Romney, but the guy from Kentucky, Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell has not only voted with Trump, prevented him from being impeached, helped him get a third Supreme Court pick that he did not deserve because Obama should have got that person, yet they're calling Mitch McConnell a rhino. So I think the way we view the politicians is a little bit different. Turtle McConnell. Cornstar, hey, how you doing there? Make America great again. Once again, it goes back to the same comment. When was America great? In the comments. Got a little time to talk to the folks in the comments because there's no shortage of my beloved MAGA folks who believe we should make the country great again. I want you to give me 4 digits. Talking about a year, a reference in time. When America, in your opinion, was a great country. Just give me 4 digits, some year. 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, 2000s. Give me 4 digits in the comments in which you would say, at least at that year, America was great. So you say, make America great again. Now, remember the hat came out, at least from the Trump administration, in 2015. So I want your digits to be before that. Because obviously when Trump was elected president, some would say 2016 was a great year, particularly MAGA. But the hat was already out. In reference to this hat, suggesting that we make America great again. And we're not talking about the fact that both Bill Clinton and Ronald Reagan also used that slogan. We're talking about from the Trump standpoint. Give me 4 digits in the comments. What year do you believe America was great? All right, looking in the comments, 1980. The year Reagan was elected. 1776. Wasn't there a woman that walked around the Capitol building yelling 1776 over and over? I don't know if she realized how stupid that looked, but she was walking through the Capitol building. 1776. 1985. I remember 85 quite well. 1980 to 1998. That's 18 continuous years. That would cover all of Reagan, all of H.W., and Clinton, Clinton's presidency, and 2 years of Bush. 1980 to 1998. Trying to think what was so great about that. That's interesting. That's 18 years. So is that somebody's life? Was that your own life, Parker County Patriot Mom? Bill Clinton said the same words. Yeah, and so did Ronald Reagan, by the way. In fact, I used to have on the screen behind me when I was doing these live streams at my home makeshift man cave studio, the actual buttons. Remember they still wear the buttons with the pins on them? When I was coming up, they'd have Michael Jackson and Prince on those little buttons. Well, during election time, they wear the buttons of the candidate of choice. And there are buttons from 1979, the Ronald Reagan campaign, that says, make America great again, Reagan 80, when he was running in 1980. Right after 2001, Max Powers, you're talking about, I'm assuming you were nowhere near Manhattan at the time you thought America was great in 2001. I'm assuming you're not a resident of New York. When we were kids and didn't give a hell. White Rabbit. You know, we all believe that our childhood was some of the best times in our lives because we didn't have health issues. You know, I wake up in the morning and then my eyelash hurt, or my ass is itching. Just anything hurts when you get to be a certain age. None of that happened when we were kids. So Listen, at the end of the day, we do revel our childhood, and I don't disagree with that, but we're talking about in terms of the entire country, not just your own personal life. So, Reagan and the CIA pushed drugs to the inner city. Criminal Reagan, H-Boss. There's also the Contra scandal. What were they saying? That they put drugs in the black community to fund not the Contras, the shit going on south of Mexico. There is a belief that happened. Nice hat says, you the brand. There you go. Make this make sense. Why is Trump running again if the votes were rigged? Sore loser. You know, boats, juju. That is an excellent question. When Trump came on the scene in 2015, one of the first things he said when he came down the escalator is, it's rigged. It's all rigged. He was actually referencing what he believed was stealing the election from Bernie Sanders to give it to Hillary Clinton. And he won in 2016. So once Trump became president, all of the talk of it's rigged disappeared. It went from, I won fair and square, get over it, which no one asked him, how could you win a rigged election fair and square? So Trump served in office from January 2017 until he lost in 2020 in November. And once again, he said it was rigged, which leads to the obvious question. If you knew things were rigged in 2015 when you ran for office and you were president for the next 4 years, what did you do to fix a rigged election? So in regards to your comment, Boats Juju, make it make sense, I cannot. I have no way of making that make sense. That the guy who said the elections were rigged was president for 4 years, had numerous rallies, said whatever the hell he wanted to say in office, made his feelings known, and did nothing to fix rigged elections. I don't even remember hearing Trump talk about any type of legislation or anything to fix rigged elections when he was president. Yet he clearly said it before he became president, the election was rigged. And you didn't hear anything else about it being rigged until he lost. So it does look suspicious. It just does. I don't have any other explanation for that. Mr. Handsome, do you know the truth? And if you don't, you better wake up. Well, user 65, what is the truth? Perhaps you can be my personal Dayquil and keep me awake. Because I don't know what you're talking about. But let me know. I'll definitely entertain it. Illuminati is on the rise. Set up the takedown. United States without firing a bullet. Yeah. Trump will help fix America. Wake up. Trump may not ever become president again. How's he going to help fix America? Here's the problem. Trump's already been in office for 4 years. At max, he can only maintain office for 4 more years. Unless something weird happens, he can only be in office for 4 more years. In regards to him making America great, securing the border, things like that, when you look at his first 4 years in office, he only gets a max of 8. He's finished 4 of them already. You don't see any evidence that he came even close to any of that stuff. Up to and including finishing the wall. That wall is nowhere near complete. When he lost in November, Biden was not in office yet, had never served a day, had no power. That wall was nowhere near finished. In fact, Steve Bannon has lost court cases alleging that he was going to allow folks who were in favor of the wall to have their names put on a brick and be used in construction of the wall. So the first 4 years of Trump's presidency, if he's the guy that's going to save the country, a lot of the things he promised have not been delivered. And now he has a significantly less amount of time to make these changes happen. He can only get 4 more years. That's not a lot of time. Now, a lot of folks on the right would suggest that it's because they were after him from day one, but that's predictable. What politician got in office and did not have people trying to go after him from day one? If I can recall, somebody told Obama, my entire goal is to make you a one-term president. So that's part of politics. Some of this stuff falls under the category of when you're not a typical politician, you do not understand how typical politics work. Trump's little finger, I don't get that comment. Handsome Liberal, hope you're having a great day. Stay positive and focused. They can use the care, and I appreciate that, Sith Empire. Thank you. Republicans are sheep, not woke. Earthy Scorpio, I do not agree with that statement. In regards to Republicans being sheep and not woke, fact is the Republican Party is quite divided right now. I would not put McCarthy in the same category as Liz Cheney, but yet they're both Republicans, or Mitt Romney, or like I said, Mitch McConnell, or even Mike Pence, who is eyeing a run in 2024. There is a different mindset in the Republican Party right now. So they cannot all be sheep because they're not all following one guy. There is a Ron DeSantis type crowd, and there is a MAGA Trump type crowd. And they all identify as Republicans, so they can't all be sheep at this point. Looking in the comments, tell us when America was great for black folks. It's a good question. Fit and Lovely. Love that name. That usually sounds quite nice. Fit and Lovely. When was America great for African Americans? I've answered this question numerous times. In my humble opinion, right now, January 13th, 2023, there is not a single day before that I would reference as a better time for black people. As you see on the evolution calendar, African Americans, the rights, the causes and things like that are in favor of African Americans have steadily increased as time went on. So it doesn't matter where you go back in time, African Americans are going to lose something. So yeah, there's not a period in history, at least from my humble opinion, that is better than it is now. Even things in modern times, such as police accountability, body cams and things like that are now starting to be the norm. You know, they're starting to actually take it serious when somebody files a complaint against police. 4 or 5 years ago, that wasn't happening. So even in recent times, there are certain things that have still continued to get better. So as far as make America great again, that's my spiel, is that there is no single point in U.S. history that I could answer your question, your humble question, that it was better for blacks than it is now. Not one single day. All right, looking in the comments again, phones to video encounters. Yeah, a lot of folks ask that. Why all of a sudden is there such a negative viewpoint toward police? I say Steve Jobs. I blame it on Steve Jobs all the time. In 2007, Steve Jobs invented the iPhone. With the iPhone, every American just about now had a personal video studio in their hand. It's one thing for a guy with a record like George Floyd to walk into a police station, ask to speak to the sergeant, and say, your cops beat the hell out of me. Or let's say Rodney King, because he actually did live. So you take somebody like Rodney King, he walks into a police station, half of his damn eye hanging out, and says, look, your police beat the hell out of me. I want to file a report. Type his name in, and the whole laundry list of crimes in his past comes up. Nobody's going to believe that guy. Somebody walks up and says, look, he was fighting with us. Our lives were in danger. He was grabbing for the gun, or he kept resisting. We had to subdue the guy. Everybody's going to believe that when you look at the criminal history of Rodney King. After the Steve Jobs era, you no longer had Rodney King walking in and saying what he had to say. Now he could hand the sergeant or hand the news media his phone and say, look at what the hell they did to me. There's no way you can look at that the same way. Suddenly, his criminal history does not matter when you see those blows and batons going everywhere. So I blame it on Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs is the one that has really hurt the police department by giving everybody phones and shit like that. Because now it's no longer just the word of citizens versus cops. Video footage is going to make a hell of a difference. We didn't used to have that. That did not used to exist. Police being sworn officers were always given the benefit of the doubt. And if they said they had to give out an ass whooping, by golly, the ass whooping needed to be gave out. But now, the video footage has changed that. You're naming Democrats. Sela. What do you mean naming Democrats? I don't get that. Trump needs to get in for the Americans. I wish he could run for the Canadians. Mark Paul. The only reason Trump is not enjoying a second term in the White House is because Trump did not know how to stop talking. You got the Rush Limbaughs at the time he was still alive. You got the Sean Hannitys, Laura Ingrams. You have henchmen that can do your bidding for you. Trump liked to get into the mosh pit himself. As a result, his mouth has cost him the election. If you talk to liberals or detractors of President Trump and ask why they did not support him, nobody's bitching about $2 gas. Even the Democrats are not complaining about 3.5% unemployment rate. On paper, Trump definitely deserved a second term. He just enjoyed getting involved in messes that had nothing to do with making America great. And at the end of the day, it created a significant amount of enemies. And there you have it. He's now in Mar-a-Lago instead of Washington, D.C. And many would suggest that that probably will make it unlikely that he'll ever be in Washington, D.C. again, unless he's a tourist. Is there any way constitutionally Trump could end up with another 8, God forbid? Not without a serious change in the Constitution, Gerald, but based on what was happening on January 6th, I don't think the Constitution mattered. I just do not. I believe that there was some type of nefarious mindset that we're going to stay in power no matter what. And I understand my beloved MAGA did not watch the hearings, but listening to the testimony, unless everybody that got up there was just lying, they made it clear that not only did Trump know he lost, but he decided from day one to pursue the avenue that the election was stolen. And unfortunately, and we can debate no matter where you want to go on this, folks who are watching, Trump has a history of saying things were stolen and not held fairly, even up to and including the race in Pennsylvania. At the time Dr. Oz was running for Senate, there were other Republican candidates in the primary. There was an African-American woman that did not believe Trump lost the election and things like that. She was running for Senate in Pennsylvania as well, and most MAGA were strongly in favor of her being the candidate of choice, even though Trump went with Dr. Oz. Well, as things started looking bad in that area, Trump suddenly announced that Republicans were stealing votes in Pennsylvania. Dr. Oz, I cannot remember what, Fetterman, the other guy that's there in Pennsylvania, all came forward. Nobody's stealing votes here. You had both the Republicans and the Democratic candidates like, we don't know what the hell he's talking about. But Trump does have a history of suggesting that voting is not held properly, even in elections that he's not in. You even had someone suggest that he stated when he did not win an Emmy Award for his television performance that was stolen. So is he correct about 2020? I haven't seen enough evidence, but it does look suspicious when you have a history of, doing the same thing over and over again. Looking in the comments. Hey, talk about those documents, bro. I seen you all over Trump's documents. Don't be a hypocrite. Chuck's balls. I always point to the funny names. Chuck's balls on hard. Okay, your balls are on. How do your balls get erect? You sure that's not testicular? Some kind of malignancy. Anyway, in regards to the documents, I've been on here bloviating with folks for about an hour or so. I started the whole live off stating that the documents they look so bad on the Biden campaign that the title of this program is Should Biden Even Continue Pursuing 2024? So we talked about the documents, but in regards to going back to that topic, it does not look good for the Biden administration at all. You are correct, Chuck Balls on hard. It looks very hypocritical for Democrats to start making up excuses for Biden when they were salivating at the same thing happening to Trump. And I get the notion that Trump did not cooperate with the government. They gave him plenty of time to come up with the documents that he was pushing back and things like that. That is fine. The Trump's case looks worse, but nevertheless, if having classified documents in your possession when you're unauthorized to have them is a crime, or if it's a violation of some sorts, then Biden is guilty as charged. And yeah, the Democrats trying to come up with excuses look hypocritical. And what makes it worse is the fact that the Biden administration knew that the documents they didn't want to have in their possession were in their possession before the midterms and kept it quiet. So even if they're ignorant to having the documents or it was a genuine error or mistake, Once you start getting involved in the cover-up, you lose all credibility. And there's no argument whatsoever that the Biden administration did not cover it up. That part is known at this point, that they found the documents, some of them as early as mid-November, and it's just coming out now in January, after the midterms. So I'm not here to pretend like Biden is an angel in this. This doesn't look good. It does not look good. We can pit these two things together. Well, Trump's is worse, and Biden. We can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time, folks. If you're doing 100 miles over the limit and I'm only doing 20 over the limit, I don't get to walk out of my courtroom, go into your case and say, well, he was doing... You can do two cases at once. Both of these individuals can be investigated. That's what they're doing right now, and hopefully they follow up with that. Tell me why they took photos of Trump stuff and raided his house, but not Biden. Sela, great question. You're not going to raid someone's house when they're opening the door for you. It is strongly believed that if they told Biden, we found shit in your office, we got shit next to your Corvette you love so much that's locked in your garage. Can we also search your shed, sir? Or can we search your house over in Nantucket somewhere? It is believed that Biden would cooperate. So if he's opening up the damn door everywhere, there's no need to perform a raid. I get you want the sensational visualization of Biden's shit being raided, but he's not countering. He's not resisting. No different than if you arrest me compared to somebody else that's fighting back. Well, beat his ass too. He's not resisting. He put his hands behind his back. So it's not going to happen. But I understand it was an embarrassment to Trump, and you want to see Biden suffer the same embarrassment. Biden's not taking the same path of resistance as Trump. So the warrant's not going to happen. Looking in the comments, like your channel, user 930. Appreciate the compliment. For you guys who like this, feel free to follow the channel. Helps out the algorithm. And let me just be candid. Normally, it is not just I bloviating for an hour on end. I do take guests in the box. I make the solemn promise on every broadcast. This is a MAGA-friendly program. I let folks get their commentary in. The fact that you may disagree with the host doesn't mean a damn thing. I give you plenty of time in the box to state your point. Unfortunately, today, TikTok, through their own undeserved censorship, has decided to close my box, making me feel like a female whore. They have closed my box, giving me a chastity belt. So I cannot take guests for a few days. Hopefully my appeal on my backup page is soon alleviated so I can take guests there. For you who may know the backup page, it is once again the Handsome Liberal without the final L. So if you go to the Handsome Liberal on TikTok, just take off the L and you'll get my backup page. And it even says this is an authentic backup page. Follow that. That's where I will be tomorrow. I think this page is banned until the 18th or something like that. So hopefully we can get back to talking to the folks, whether you're right or left. I always enjoy hearing your opinions. Like I stated before, I get to learn a lot. I'm not ever here to pretend as though I know all the shit and you don't. A lot of times you guys educate me on a hell of a lot of things, right and left. That's what we do here. Civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle, regardless if your points are totally in opposition of each other. Is Biden legally allowed to take documents? The answer is no. And if you notice, you don't hear Biden suggesting that the documents found in his possession were rightfully his, which is another issue with Trump. Trump had documents that he did not supposed to have and made statements like, I could literally think them into declassification. It's stuff like that for folks who ask, well, why won't they raid Biden's locations like they did Trump? He's not doing shit like that. How many of you folks watching believe that a president can think something into declassification without even telling anybody? What is this, X-ray glasses like Superman had where he can see your ass naked? Well, to some degree, Trump did have NFTs with the lasers coming out of his eyes, so maybe he can do it. Real Trucker Jeff, he didn't know he had them. I mentioned that before. Ignorance of the law is no excuse, or whatever the case may be. I didn't know I had a kilo of schmack in my bathroom, but if the officers catch me with it in there, that's probably not going to be very helpful. Trump, like the guy on the basketball court, take his ball and go home. You know, Hammer 2127, there are folks who have suggested that as opposed to losing an election, Trump would rather see the world burn. Hopefully that's wrong, but I have heard people say that. Real life Uncle Ruckus. I saw that before I scrolled up. I get it all the time. I love you folks. It's always black people. I've never had someone that did not look like me in skin tone refer to me as Uncle Ruckus, Uncle Tom, sellout. It's always black people. It's the visuals, folks. They see the hat, and they only go with that. The name of the program is The Handsome Liberal. So that, it's funny. But look it in the comments. Trump can't ride a bike. I think some trash flew in your sunroof. I'm assuming you're talking about the hat. How about the link of Hunter access to dad's home living there? Jeep gentlemen, Hunter Biden undoubtedly comes up in every single live stream. To me, the Hunter Biden issue, and I'm not exonerating Hunter Biden at all. I will tell you this. I do believe where there's smoke, there's potentially fire. Just like I didn't exonerate Hillary Clinton. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, Hunter Biden has a lot of parallels to Hillary Clinton. Nothing is going to come out of it. Absolutely nothing. Hunter Biden would never even see handcuffs. Nothing is going to come out of that. In fact, the only purpose of going after Hunter Biden is to affiliate his dad. If President Biden got sick, let's say he actually had dementia and decided to step down for the sake of America, the whole Hunter Biden story would go away. Just like with Hillary Clinton. Under the Trump's candidacy, and certainly under his presidency, folks were yelling, lock her up in every single city and rally that Trump attended. What came out of that? I don't even recall Hillary Clinton being under investigation during Trump's 4 years in office. She didn't testify during Trump's time in office for anything. Benghazi was already investigated before Trump came around. Yet they're yelling, lock her up. Trump would pause, give a smirk to the audience, and let them yell, lock her up, knowing I'm president and there's nothing being done to lock this woman up. But if it makes you all happy in the audience, as what was it, Shirley Crow once yelled, if it makes you happy, we'll let you yell it out. But at the end of the day, Hillary Clinton is hanging out with her husband or whatever the case may be. There was no chance of Hillary Clinton ever being locked up. And with Hunter Biden, it's even worse because his dad is president. You could spend 2 years and $1 trillion going after Hunter Biden, and his dad could pardon him at the end of all of that. It is that simple. Make no mistake about it. If you use your mom or dad's name, their position as president, to get paid, to make money, and you got caught, you're going to tell me your mom or dad wouldn't pardon you? You didn't assault any children. You didn't kill anyone. You just got paid. All your parent has to do is sign on a dotted line and you can walk. Everybody's parents in here would do that. And you would do that for your own children. So at the end of the day, whether Hunter Biden is guilty of sin or not, he will not serve any time in prison simply because his dad can release him at the stroke of a pen. And your dad would do that too. But if it makes you happy to continue pursuing 10% to the big guy in the laptop, hey, have at it. Just realize the tunnel has no light at the end of it. None at all. There's no power. There's no wires. There's not even a bulb down there. You can go in that tunnel as deep as you want. It will never have light at the end of it. You are the only liberal I have ever heard that made sense. I wish all liberals thought like you. That is a hell of a compliment, Mark Martin. I appreciate that. Thank you. I try to maintain an unbiased position. I try to certainly be open to the passion, to the opinions of folks on the right. Some of it makes sense. Some of it I agree with. Not here to pretend like all liberals are perfect. So I try to keep it from an unbiased standpoint. And if it can make folks like you enjoy the program, make statements like so, I do appreciate that. Republicans want to expunge one of Trump's impeachments. Which one? Which one? I'll be curious to see. I mean, it's not going to make a difference in terms of historical precedents. Like I stated before, January 6th is going to be the biggest bullet point on Trump's historical resume. Him being impeached twice, I guess you could put an asterisk by one and say it was expunged. it's all it's all semantics at this point. I mean, the guy got impeached twice. He will be known as the guy that got impeached twice. It is what it is. I've said it before several times. Unless Trump gets reelected to improve his legacy, it's not going to be a good one. Right now in 2023, there are plenty of MAGA around to say that that was a witch hunt or that was bullshit or that investigation was wrong. 50 years from now, they'll all be dead. And it'll just be what's in the history books. It'll just be what the courts did. And none of that looks good for President Trump. Maybe not 50 years. Let me not kill all of you guys off. Let's say 70 years. We'll all be dead. Okay? I don't want to kill everybody off. This is not a horror movie. Shout out to Friday the 13th, by the way. All you guys are enjoying it. The facts all show that it was the biggest scam to hit the FBI's integrity. You know something, Barbie? I don't know how much of it is a scam because, for instance, January 6th, was that crowd completely unarmed? Did the FBI lie about that? Was it an insurrection? Were they in violation to go in the Capitol building, or was it a tour? Were they just there having a love fest? There are lies coming from the other side, too. We can discredit the FBI on some things if you want to point out, but there's no denying that some of the things released from the Trump administration are lies as well, such as the federal government, the Department of Justice, stated that Trump has declassified documents. Is that true? We can see what they have. Trump stated that he can literally think documents into declassification status. Is that true? Most would say that's a big-ass lie. So we can point to where the FBI is wrong, but it's not like the Trump campaign are innocent angels either. Trump has said some stuff that we know is not true, such as thinking documents into declassification. Well, Trump is a fool. Not much of a lie that you stated. Celia, do you believe, how many, yes or no in the comments? None of us are federal analysts. None of us are, highly classified individuals. Nobody here is G14 classified, as Chris Tucker once said. But I will ask you folks, how many by way of yes or no, and I got to figure out how to do a poll on this thing, but by way of, hit the wrong button there. By way of yes or no, how many of you believe a president can think classified documents into declassification? Don't have to tell anybody. Don't have to show anybody anything. Just grab some shit, put it under his arm, walk out of a room, and by way of thinking of it, it's declassified. How many of you folks believe that that is legally the way this country operates? Because he clearly said it. I don't see one yes in the comments. I thought I would get at least one MAGA. There's no love. There's no love for my boy. This is a MAGA-friendly room. Come on now. Not one person. Not one person. Okay, there we go. There we go. Be damned. And it would be a name like Be Damned. Said yes, why not? Okay, fair enough. I thought that was funny, but damn, not one of you guys. I think be damned. You always welcome to the program, and I think even you trolling. Not one person said yes, which is crazy because he went on a show with the popularity of Sean Hannity and said he could think documents into declassification. I will tell you this. In my humble opinion, I believe because of some of the things the Trump administration did, we're going to have laws that provide more clarity. Not here to say he was wrong or right in some things, but we're going to have laws that provide more clarity because Trump is an expert at pushing the envelope and finding loopholes, such as we now need to know for certain, can the vice president overturn an election? I believe they finally did something in Congress to make that more clear. But because Trump was pushing the envelope and trying to get the vice president to overturn the election, we now need to have a law to make sure that, yay or nay, can that actually happen? Same thing with the Capitol building being seized and the argument that Nancy Pelosi was supposed to call in the National Guard. We need to have clarity on whose job that is if some shit like that happens again. Nobody ever expected that to happen. Trump has taken us into avenues, down streets that we never even knew nobody lived on. So now that we know somebody lives on that street, we got to start charging them property tax. He's finding blocks and shit that ain't even on the map. Rand McNally did not know this street was here. And Trump is hanging out having a barbecue. So we now know that because of the Trump administration pushing the envelope in these directions, such as thinking the document into existence. How do we know that's not true? I mean, he said he could think a document into existence. We need to have it actually written down. One huge element that we absolutely need to have as clear as day in regards to something that Trump did, Trump negotiated or discussed or thought about. Can a president that is under investigation for crimes pardon himself? That needs to be in black and white, because it does appear as if Trump considered that. Now, clearly he was not convicted of anything as president. Still hasn't been convicted of anything. Right now, he's an upstanding, law-abiding citizen. Hasn't been convicted of anything. But it is clear, because he was flirting with that, asking about it, that if he had been convicted of a crime as president, he probably would have used it. So we need to now have in black and white if a president that is convicted of a crime can actually pardon himself. My opinion is you should absolutely not be allowed to do that, but they don't have it clear. Another one, when a president is facing impeachment, can he be charged with obstruction to any degree? Because, of course, Trump was telling folks not to answer subpoenas and things like that. That's, to some degree, obstruction. If you give someone a presidential order to not comply with a judge, how is that not obstruction? They need to have this stuff in black and white. Because we can talk about Trump all we want. He's paving the way for somebody else to do that stuff. So they need to make sure that stuff is in black and white in the future, so that long after Trump's gone, the next man will know you can or cannot do that. And oddly enough, in the comments, here's what I mean. Jotster says that is exactly obstruction. But right after that, click 5678, friend of the program, said it's not obstruction. So we need to have clarity on that, because those two comments show that. We do not know. Same thing with the Nancy Pelosi and the National Guard, and others say Trump's job was to do that, and others even say it was the mayor of Washington, D.C. We don't know. Trump is pushing us in these directions that we need to know what can and cannot be done. I've even had folks suggest that if Trump was to get reelected, there is some law that allows him to run for a second term again. Now, I'm assuming we do have shit that's clear enough to know that's not true, but it's not stopping folks from saying it. Any of them could have made that call. Joester, I believe that. I actually believe that. Regardless if it was Nancy Pelosi's official job to call in the National Guard or Trump's job to do it, none of them would have been denied if they'd done it. With the Capitol building being seized on national TV, if Trump had made a phone call and said we need to get security down there, or Nancy Pelosi made a call and said the same thing, or even Mike Pence, it would have been sent. None of these folks at these lower levels are going to question an order coming from the vice president, the president, or the Speaker of the House. That's like number 1, 2, and 3. So regardless of whose job it is, they all could have probably done it. All of them can pick up the phone and get some form of security in large numbers to that building based on what was going on. So it certainly does not exonerate Trump, because he was just at home chilling, watching it on television. According to Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Chris Christie, Kellyanne Conway, they couldn't even get in touch with the dude. And they got his personal phone number. He was deliberately not answering the phone. He went ghost because he was enjoying what he was seeing on TV. Hilarious. I think it's funny when they ask you to prove Democrat lies. Well, Democrats are not always honest. I mean, it depends on the lie. Only way I think is he has to be VP, take over for president, then run as a candidate. I don't quite get that one. Well, Biden knew he sat on TV and said about Trump, how did this happen? How irresponsible. Yeah, he did. You're correct. Biden, when it was found that Trump had classified information or classified documents, classified material, Biden jumped on the bandwagon, seized the opportunity, and stated, oh, I can't believe a president would be this irresponsible. Now that he has shit in his possession, yeah, liberals are making up excuses. But like I stated before, that's politics. Because the same thing happened when liberals were on I think it was Hillary Clinton pleading the fifth or whatever it was. And Trump jumped on the bandwagon. Well, if you plead the fifth, it means you're affiliated with the mafia. It means you got something to hide. All of a sudden, Trump and a host of his compadres were pleading the fifth. Suddenly, folks on the right were making excuses. Well, you don't want to convict yourself, or you don't have to talk. Yeah, but you weren't saying that when Hillary Clinton was in the fire. So, yeah, there's a lot of hypocrisy. I'm not here to pretend like that doesn't exist. It's unilateral in presidential and vice presidential authority. You know, I just have a hard time believing what happened on January 6th. That, like I stated before, Mike Pence, Nancy Pelosi, and President Trump. I cannot see a scenario where any of them would have reached out to the National Guard for help and been told, sir, you don't have the authority. I just don't see it. Or, ma'am, you don't have the authority. I think if any of them had reached out for help, they would have easily gotten it. And the fact that Trump is the only one whose life is not in danger at that time didn't even at least go on television and say, you guys need to chill on this shit. I appreciate the support for what I'm going through, but this is not the way. What do we say when Colin Kaepernick takes a knee, Black Lives Matter burns down? This is not the way to protest. We hear that all the time. We still have yet to hear Trump suggest what happened on January 6th is not the proper way to protest. You can see it when a guy is taking a knee while a song is playing, but walking through the halls of the Capitol building with a Confederate flag and taking shit off people's desks, they stole a whole damn podium. What are you going to do with a podium? What are you going to do with a podium? I come to your crib to watch the game and you got a White House podium in the crib? Where the hell did you get that? I thought I was here to watch the game. What you doing with a podium in the kitchen? So I don't get why Trump did not call out that was the wrong way to protest. I have not heard that from President Trump. In fact, going even further in the wrong direction was the statement that it was a love fest. Was somebody getting fucked? Was somebody having sex in the Capitol? Now, I did hear that there was some shit wiped on the walls. Okay, I'm getting graphic. I get it. But that did happen. There was a statement that somebody wiped feces on the wall of the Capitol building. The wrong way to protest when a guy takes a knee. And no claims for that. In fact, I heard MAGA say, look, it's the people's house. We can go in there and do that. I don't even go in my own house and wipe shit on the wall. Come on now. You want to talk about making excuses for Biden? That's a hell of an excuse. So, look, it's all political at the end of the day. I'm not here to pretend like either side don't do this shit. But when I'm actually talking about shit literally, I don't know about a lot of liberals doing that. I mean, there's a whole lot of liberals that do not like President Trump or Bush or some of the other Republicans. But I cannot imagine taking a dump in your hand and smearing it on their house. That just doesn't make sense at all. If they were black, it would be a whole different story, says Roderick 1024. I'd be lying if I told you anything else other than that. I do believe that if Black Lives Matter had a serious problem with the government and showed up and did what happened on January 6th, I think it would have been a hell of a lot more than Ashley Babbitt getting carried out. It would have been LaQuisha's and Leroy's all over the damn place laying down. So, I think that is a valid statement. But we don't know. Because black folks ain't dumb enough to do no shit like that. You can go burn down a Target, but you ain't going to the Capitol building pulling that shit. What did the guy say in Harlem Nights? I ain't never coming home again. You know if you go to the Capitol building and do some shit like that. Certainly when you're calling for the death of the vice president, if I'm watching my son do it on TV, I'm asking the other child, you want their bedroom? He ain't coming home. You do know that. You know he ain't coming home no more. So if you want his bedroom, that pillow you talked about, you can have all that. He ain't coming back. He's gone. He ain't coming back. So, they gave that a pass. They gave that a pass. There's no denying they gave that a pass on the right. Donald Trump would have had them all killed and called terrorists, but not his flunkies. I can't disagree with that because Trump stated that Black Lives Matter was a terrorist group. And he stated that the protesters on January 6th were, we love you. So I'm not here to separate and pretend like what that was just what was just stated there is not valid. That's valid. BLM burnt cities. Hardly no arrests. MacGyver 6'4". That is true. The antics of Black Lives Matter went unpunished. Overwhelmingly went unpunished. Led to folks like Kyle Rittenhouse and his crew going out there to do what the government was not doing. I'm not going to pretend like that did not happen. There were lots of opportunists using the outcry of Black Lives Matter to get shit, TVs and free shit. Were they all Black Lives Matter? I'm not making any excuse for what happened. But do I believe everybody ripping out stuff, setting places on fire, were doing it because of anger at the police? No. I'm going to be honest with you. If I'm dirt poor and I see a window that's wide open to CVS or Best Buy or something like that, there's a chance if I think I can get something and get away with it, I might get away with it. No different than the issue on January 6th. If you take the individual people, they wouldn't go in there and do that by themselves. But it's called a mob action. When you know hundreds of people are doing the same thing at once, the chances of you getting caught are significantly less. It encourages people to have, courage that they normally would not have. Now, unfortunately for the January 6th protesters, compared to the looters at Best Buy, there's a hell of a lot more cameras in the Capitol building than there are in Best Buy. So there's some really good 4K shots of folks in the Capitol building. Did not work for them very well. And it doesn't help. It doesn't help at all when the FBI is after your ass. They just have more power and resources. So they didn't do too well. Babbitt got what she deserved, says DAC7241. I got a lot of MAGA that suggest otherwise, but as far as I'm concerned, yeah, Babbitt was playing with her own life. I don't care if it's a bank robber or if it's a police officer. If someone is aiming a pistol at you and yelling for you to do shit, ignoring that puts your life in danger. Bank robber or cop. Somebody has a drop on you and they are yelling instructions at you and you choose not to follow those instructions, understand that that may not be compatible with your life. Ashley Babbitt chose to continue making an effort to proceed through a busted window or partition towards the guy with the gun. She's dead. Kyle is a hero. Let them try again. There are millions of Kyles. You know something in regards to Kyle Rittenhouse being a hero? Hero of what? What did Kyle Rittenhouse do that makes him heroic? He didn't save a business from being burned. The only thing Kyle Rittenhouse did was saved his ass from facing serious bodily harm. I do believe Kyle Rittenhouse's actions were self-defense. I'll give you that. There's nobody out there that are like, thank you, Kyle Rittenhouse, for saving me or saving my business. Hero for what? He shot a Black Lives Matter sympathizer. If that makes him a hero, then I guess that's your take. But he didn't save the town. He didn't do anything. In fact, how many of you believe that if we could go back in history, Kyle Rittenhouse would do that same shit again? You seen how that guy, the emotions, the passion came out of him when he was found not guilty or whatever the case may be. You think he want to go through that shit again? Laying there at night wondering if he's about to get a life sentence and spend the rest of his life in Wisconsin forever? That's not heroic. It's not heroic. What he did was stupid. If you want to protect businesses or whatever the hell he suggested, at the very least, they should have had two-man teams. Somebody to protect your back. Roaming around the neighborhood in the middle of the night and shit like that, he came that close to getting killed. Not only Rosenbaum, who wanted to take his gun and kill him, the first guy he killed, but the other guy, the guy he blew the bicep off of, the pistol guy, luckily that guy who had a weapon with long range actually came close enough for him to shoot him while he was on the ground running from skateboard guy. The guy with the pistol could have shot him from across the street. He just got fucking lucky. It's no heroic action. The dude got lucky. It turned out all right for him, but no, you don't want to be in that situation. That was dumb for him to do that. Kyle took out criminals. You don't want to take out criminals like that. Would you take your child to an event like that? If you knew that outcome could happen? How many of you would give your child a long rifle in defense of protecting property and let them do what Cal did. Now, if you're in 2-man, 3-man teams and things like that, yeah, there's more security. But based on Kyle Rittenhouse's actions, how many of you would be in favor of doing that with your child? He came that close to not coming home. If skateboard guy or flying kick guy that kick had landed, Kyle Rittenhouse failed like a white person in a horror movie. But he just got lucky enough to pull that gun out and defend himself. But he came that close to some serious ass whooping, maybe even lost a life. That's not heroic. It's not. It's stupid. It's stupid. And he didn't save a single business. He didn't do anything that helped out the events there that night. Heroic how? Just happened to kill 2 people. And by the way, who knows how much other shit was damaged because they were pissed off what he got away with. Just wait for what's next, says Renegade Breaks. What is next? Name me one defendant that went behind the judge, hugged him, and then later picked on his jury. Delta, from what I saw on the video, and I'm no fan at all for what Kyle Rittenhouse did. I think what he did was stupid. Did it have racial overtones in it? Maybe. But it was self-defense. I mean, not only was it self-defense, there was plenty of prosecutorial misconduct. They had video footage they were trying to hide from the side of the defense. The only thing that helped out Kyle Rittenhouse is the fact that so many folks thinking he's a fucking hero donated enough money to that man to hire good legal counsel. Without those he would have had a public pretender and he would be in prison right now. Fortunately, because he killed folks that other people view as bad people, folks rallied around him and gave him enough money to hire a good lawyer. That is not a scenario that anyone would want to put their child in, no matter how much you hated Black Lives Matter or wanted to protect businesses. He got lucky. He got lucky. Privilege or whatever the hell you want to call it, he got lucky. He could be in prison. Anybody else in that scenario, without those donations and GoFundMe, he's going to prison. That prosecutor hiding information from the defense probably would have succeeded under a regular public pretender type scenario. So that's luck. That ain't heroism. That is not heroicism. That's just dumb freaking luck. Why do you think a 3PD, I don't get that. Why do you think a 3PDO is not bad people? I don't know what a 3PDO is. The Dems are pedophiles. Pop Piz 69. But a name like that, you're talking about Democrats being pedos. Keep it up. I like it. I like it. Call us pedos. That's what helps folks like Trump not get elected. That's what helps us bring up stuff like QAnon and all those crazy conspiracies. We're drinking blood of infants and things like that. I like it. Keep saying it. Because Trump, on paper, in my opinion, deserved a second term. I'm no Trump supporter, but I do believe on paper, without the rhetoric, without the name calling, without the pedo comments, he would have been reelected. So thank you. You helped us out. Good to see you're a Trump supporter finally. Well, Gigi, I guess you didn't hear the last sentence. If there was proof of election fraud, why did Brunson v. Adams fail? James, I don't think there was proof of election. Well, wait a minute. I do believe in a country of 330 million people, a lot of people, there was fraud in the election. I don't think there's any way you're going to hold an election where one candidate gets 74 million votes and the other guy gets more, and it's 100% honest. I think that there is definite proof that some election fraud happened. I disagree that Trump won by a landslide or even prove that he won at all. Proving election fraud happened does not prove he won because you do not know who the fraud was committed in favor of. I've watched 2000 Mules a half dozen times. Many of you in here, but particularly my beloved MAGA folks, have watched 2000 Mules as well. Evidence of ballot stuffing, evidence of people showing up in the middle of the night, constantly feeding votes into mailboxes. But you do not know what's on the votes. 2000 Mules made the assumption that all of the alleged fraud that they think they caught was on behalf of Democrats. There's no way to prove that. There's no evidence of that. That is a complete assumption, which is why the courts immediately stepped up and said, this movie means nothing to us at all. Because in course you got to show proof. You need to know what's on those ballots. Same thing about finding ballots in a river or things like that. What's on the ballots? What is on them? I don't want to sound like Brad Pitt in Seven, but what's in the box? What's in the box? If you do not know what's on them, there's no way you can assume it's Democratic. But folks on the right was doing that. And you just, that would not hold up in court. It never will. Hannity said Trump was full of shit. Really? I don't know about that. Did he? Hannity? I know Attorney Jim Barr said that, because I got his book. The name of his book is One Damn Thing After Another. Trump's attorney general, he did say the claims were bullshit. In fact, he testified on the January 6 hearings again and said it was bullshit. And the moment he started criticizing Trump, ivory started growing out of his head and he turned into a rhino. I don't know how that shit happens, but it is some kind of biological phenomenon that if you criticize Trump, fucking rhino comes out of your head. I've never heard of that before. It's really weird. Looking in the comments, folks. Why is it swing states can't count? I can't argue with the notion that certain states changed their voting rules because of COVID. But the problem I have is Montana fighting back against the lawsuit that was placed against Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania changed their voting. They blamed COVID for the reason they changed. Texas sued Pennsylvania, stating that their changes to the voting laws was unconstitutional. Montana appeared, the governor of the state of Montana was on this week with George Stephanopoulos, and he stated, we made the same changes they did in Pennsylvania, but the Republicans used our changes and still won the election, and Trump is not suing us. Why is that? Nobody had an answer for that, which is also why the lawsuit against Pennsylvania ultimately went nowhere. Because here's another state where you guys won that made the same changes, and for some reason it's not on your lawsuit. If what Pennsylvania did with their voting changes is unconstitutional, then it's also in Montana the same way. But you can't ignore Montana because you won there, didn't it? And I said this before. If there is fraud in the 2020 election, what Trump should have did is ordered an audit of all 50 states. Look, there's a hell of a lot of fraud here. We should have the election redone. What Trump did is went to the states he lost, said there's fraud there, and ignored all the states he won. You're going to tell me Wisconsin has a lot of cheating, but a big-ass state like Texas or a state like Florida, all those metropolitan, no cheating at all happened there, huh? Just a little-ass state like Wisconsin where they're eating custard and cheese all day. They're cheating on elections in Wisconsin. And in Texas, everybody's honest with big belt buckles. That's what made Trump look like he was not trying to pursue a fair election. He was just trying to win. I just want to have an argument. I just want to straighten shit out in places I lost. If I won, I don't care what they did there. That didn't look right. That did not look right. And of course, at the end of the day, the judges did not entertain it. Listen, folks, I've bloviated long enough. This is a Friday Lunchbook Live. Appreciate the fact you guys have tuned in. You could be anywhere you want on social media. Shout out to you if this is the type of commentary you like. Follow the program. It helps out the algorithms. Normally, I have folks in the box. I don't ban, block, or censor anyone for their commentary. I always give you plenty of time in the box to state your point. This is a MAGA-friendly program. MAGA are my preferred guests, but liberals are welcome as well. But today, because the box was censored by TikTok, I was not able to make that happen. But let's hopefully tomorrow we'll make it happen. Until then, it's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. I got to go.